everyone, welcome to our YouTube channel. The following video is part of our weekly masterclass led by industry experts who will guide you through the latest tech trends and skills. Don't forget to check the link to more such videos in the description.
I would like to welcome you to today's session. Today we will be talking about UPI data in general, right? And PhonePe, for example, Paytm, Cred, all these apps generate a lot of UPI transactions happen through these apps, right? And that is what we are going to discuss today. I'm your host for today, Ashwin Goyal. I've been in the data analytics, data science industry for the last few years. I have worked on data that's spanning across the globe, across India, medical data sets, fintech, e-commerce, food delivery, across the board, right? Even his hospitality, and financial data, all of that. So I think today I want to tell you, there will be a broad thread that will be running in the background, that even though you may experience a lot of challenges and the roadmap might not be very clear to you, you need to take very, very conscious steps. For example, getting some expert guidance, getting mentorship, and you need to build a roadmap for yourself that is going to make your journey shorter, right? The only thing that matters here is time. Eventually, everyone will become a very good data analyst if they try to do so. But then does it take you 1 year or does it take you 3 months? That's the difference, right? Does it take you 5 years? Does it take you 6 months? That's the kind of difference we intend to create through this awareness. That being said, I think I will now jump to the Python notebook that I'm going to share with you. Before solving any problem, right? Specifically in data analytics and data science, I talk about 6 steps in data analytics, right? And I'm going to use this notebook only to demonstrate these 6 steps. First one is understand business problems, right? And this is how you solve, let's say, a business problem using data. This is the essence of data analytics. Anything around data analytics will be solved through these 6 steps, right? 1 or 2 steps here and there, but broadly it will be the same structure, right? So I'm talking about this structure. So step 1 is to understand the problem statement, talk to stakeholders, understand their pain points, what is the problem they are facing, what's the solution they are expecting, all of that. All right. So coming back to the data analytics life cycle. So this is what is called data analytics life cycle, or an approach to solve problems, basically. Right. So that is the data analytics life cycle. Step 1, understand problem statement, talk to stakeholders, get a sense of what they are expecting, get a sense of what problem they are facing, right? And then get data. Obviously, every business problem, there's a good chance that that will be solved using data, some kind of data, structured, unstructured data, but data. So get data, or you can say fetch data, scrape data from websites. In some sense, you may have to collect data also. So collect data. That's step 2. What is step 3? Step 3 essentially is, we talk about, and this is also very, very important, we talk about data cleaning. You have data, but then is that data clean? Do you have it in a structured format? Is it usable? Is it consumable for you? Right? So you clean the data, but then to make it more usable, you also apply data transformations. Right? And again, multiple ways to put this, but people talk about manipulation. People talk about making the data more digestible, more consumable, usable, any term you can use. But broadly, the goal here is to make the data more structured, right? If you want the data analyst to use the data very, very smoothly in a very convenient fashion. And that will happen only if the data engineer makes sure that the data is in a structured format, in a proper format. And the data analyst himself or herself also does a lot of data manipulation, data transformation. Step 5, the data is clean. Now we actually do the data analysis. And this is where, you use Excel, Power BI, Python, tools like, obviously you use Python across the board, Excel across all these 6 steps, but tools like, pivot tables really help you analyze the data very well. Step 6 is obviously one of the most interesting parts of data analytics, data visualization. And step 7, which we sometimes forget to include, is storytelling. Even after you've made all the, if even after you've made the data visualization, you want to ensure that whatever message you want to convey through the data set or through the data visualization, that is conveyed in an effective manner. Using the same chart, you can tell two stories, but what is the version that the data you as a data analyst want to convey to the stakeholders or to the leadership team, your management team, your manager, the CEO, business team, whoever? So these are the 7 steps, not 6, but 7 steps essentially, right? And yeah, you may not be required to do this step, which would make it 6, but these are the 7 steps that we talk about broadly in data analytics. Right. So I always start any data analytics session with this because this is the background, and today we will, of course, understand the problem statement, but we will not get data because I already have the data. We may require some data cleaning, some basic data cleaning, right? And we obviously will transform the data. We will definitely analyze the data. I will also create a few data visualizations, and those data visualizations are useless if I don't tell a story, right? So far, so good. And again, just to repeat, at any point you have questions, please write them in the Q&A box. You can also write them in the chat, but yeah, broadly, I think utilize the Q&A section for that. Perfect. Now, coming to the crux of today's session, and that is PhonePe, or let's say UPI data in general. I don't want to restrict myself to PhonePe. I have data across apps, which is why I think we will have more data also to analyze. But I want to quickly show you the data set that we are going to use today. Right? And it is the UPI data set from 2021. Right? So let me just share my screen. So this data is across banks, across apps for 2021. All right, let me share. And at any point, if you feel the session is becoming too technical, feel free to let me know in the chat. We want to make you understand how to do this, right? Not exactly the all the libraries and the steps, but to give you enough context so that you can go back and try something like this yourself. So this is the data that we have here. Quickly want to show this to you. I hope you're able to see my Excel window. Now, UPI banks. I have a bunch of UPI banks here. If you see, we have banks ranging from, I hope you can see this. Yes. You are ranging from Airtel Payments Bank, Amazon Pay, Allahabad Bank app, Canara Bank, Citibank, all these banks, even Cred data we have, right? Cred is another up and coming startup. Then PhonePe data, obviously we have a lot of PhonePe data. Then even Truecaller, UCO Bank, WhatsApp also, because WhatsApp also has introduced WhatsApp Pay. We have all these apps, and I have some aggregated data, right? And this is what we are going to analyze today. This is going to give us insights around how many transactions and what is the value of the transactions that people are doing in 2021, right? So volume in millions by customers, total number of transactions done by customers in millions, right? Then value of transactions by customers. For example, in this case, 2200 CR of transactions was done by customers in 2021 using this app, Airtel Payment Banks app. Perfect. Next, volume millions, right? Then we have value CR. This is by customers. This is overall. This is, whenever we would have business transactions also, we would have B2B transactions also. So this is by customers and this is business, everything. So total volume and by customers. And then we have month and then we have year. Which month was this transaction done in? Which year was this transaction completed? So all the years are 2021. So practically this column is not useful for me, right? I can even drop this column, but I will do all the analysis, everything around data cleaning in Python itself, right? I just want to show the data set to you using Excel, rest everything on Python. Now let's jump to the Python sheet that I was showing you. And this is Google Collaboratory, right? This is essentially a tool used for Python, right? Similar to Jupyter, Orbit Workbench, bunch of tools you can use, but this is definitely one of the tools that I prefer using. And I will just rename to, and I created a new sheet altogether, a new collab notebook altogether for the session. So I will just name this and we will get started. Perfect. Now let's see. First things first, what we do, what's the first step we do in Python? Can anyone tell me? We import pandas as PD. So there's a wonderful feature in Collaboratory that is autocomplete, right? But we are not going to use it much today. I want to demonstrate everything. I can simply click on tab and everything will be written automatically, but I want to demonstrate everything to you. So there's a library called pandas that I'm going to import. Then there's a library used for data vision. So pandas is used for working with data, right? Analyzing data, data analysis. Very good library, very useful. And then Seaborn as a SNS. Seaborn is a library. Very beautiful charts, graphs are created using this library, right? Okay, just to check, I hope you can see the screen. Perfect. Right. So Seaborn library used for analyzing, or let's say creating beautiful visualizations, right? And charts and graphs, all of that. And then we are going to import, let's say, NumPy. This is a library that is used to work with numbers, right? NumPy as NP. Then there is a library called matplotlib, right? That is used to, again, plot very beautiful charts and graphs. That is matplotlib.pyplot. I'm using this library. And as when I say as NP, I'm basically saying that, I'm giving an alias to that whenever I want to access this library, I will do that using simple word, or let's say simple letters PD. Instead of writing the whole thing, pandas, I'll simply write PD or SNS or NP or PLT. Right? So far, so good. I will now run this notebook and we will wait for the instance to connect. All right. Now what we want to do next is, after doing this, I want to get my notebook. I want to get my Excel sheet here, right? So there is something called as DF, data frame, basically. I believe some of you might have heard about this. So data frame is a table, basically, rows and columns. So what I will say is, I will create a new data frame called DF, right? And this is where I will simply use the pandas library to read a CSV file, right? And I've already shown that CSV file to you, that Excel sheet that I was sharing, that was a CSV file, UPI transactions 2021. So what am I doing here? I'm simply reading a CSV using pandas. So whenever I access a function, now read.csv, if you see here, is a function in pandas. Pandas is a library. I'm accessing that library using the abbreviation PD, and I'm creating a new data frame using the variable name df. Right? I know this can become a bit too much sometimes, a lot of new things at once, but I hope you are able to follow. Send a yes in the chat if you're able to follow this. Right? So very quickly, df is a data frame. All right, perfect. Thank you. DF is a data frame. What is a data frame? Simple table, right? Just think of it as a table. PD is the library, pandas, right? I can also write entire thing pandas here. Then I use a dot to access this function in that library. This function is read.csv, read_csv, right? Perfect. And now what I'm going to do is, and now this is where things become interesting. What I'm going to do is, in this repository, right, in this folder, I'm going to import, and there's a function called upload here, right? Upload. I'm going to upload that file that I was showing to you, right? 2021 transactions dataset. So let me quickly stop sharing and let me upload this very quickly to this data set. I want to do everything in front of you in the class itself. So let's see. I have done that already. I've done that already. Let's see. So I just uploaded that sheet in this folder, in this area, in this repository, right? Now what I'm going to do is I need to write the name of this, right? UPI transactions 2021. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to simply say slash content slash, because this is some content that I'm getting, that I'm importing here, UPI transactions. I'm going to name it the same way, 2021.csv. So what am I doing? I'm reading this CSV that I just imported into Python, into my folder. I'm accessing that CSV. I'm pulling that CSV into my notebook from that folder. Right? Hope you understand the fundamental concept here. Yes. So I am getting questions around, can we get the video recording and all? So I think focus on the session. We may be able to share YouTube, the maybe unlisted link or something, but I think it may not be possible to do that. So just ensure you focus on the session at the moment. Um, Link of the data. Yeah, you'll easily, when you search for UPI transactions 2021 on Google, you'll easily get the data set. No problem there. I'll share it with you. Okay, let me do that only very quickly. Oh, yeah, I understand. Some people might want to code with me, but since we have very less time today, right? Uh, we may not be able to, like, you may not be able to code with me. But anyways, I've shared the data set here in the chat. 1 second. Okay, it's saying network disconnected. 1 second. Somehow here, but I can point you to the data set maybe. So you can say UPI transactions 2021 data set. Right. So this is the data set. You'll get it here. Or this, I think this is the one. So you'll easily get it. No problem at all. Yes, there's a question around, is there any need to import data frame? You just need to import the library. That is it. You just need to import the library. That is it, essentially. Okay. So here I don't need to import data frame. Perfect. Now let's get to the interesting part, guys. Let's not stop here. Let's read the CSV. I've already written the code for reading the CSVs. And the beauty of Python here is that everything is a one-line code, right? Everything is a one-line thing. Now df.head, data frame is df. I want to see the head of it. Head is a function, displays the first 5 rows, first 5 rows, yes, of that table that you are, that is stored in the data frame, right? So I'm writing df.head. This will just give you a peek of the data set, of the data frame rather, right? So df.head, let's see what we have. First 5 rows, as you saw already, Airtel Payments Bank, this, value, volume, value, month, year, so on and so forth. Right, so far so good. Any questions here? You can, anything you were not able to follow, you can always write that in the chat, that I'll quickly pick up. But any other general questions, you can write it in the Q&A. So df.head, what does head let you do? Head allows you to quickly understand and analyze the data. How does the data look like? And there's a function, very similar function called shape also, right? And this is where you understand what's the shape, rows versus columns, right? What is the shape of that? What is the shape of the data set? Sorry, not this, df.shape. So 654 rows and 7 columns. That's the shape of the data set. And all these are descriptive functions. These are describing what I have, let's say, in my data set. So df.info, another descriptive function. This tells me this is the column, right? These are the columns overall, all the columns: UPI banks, volume by customers, value by customers, volume total, value total, month, year, and 654 rows, 654, so on. So it is just explaining to you what do you have here. It's a data frame. right? So df.info is another descriptive function. And I want to talk about descriptive functions in detail because this is data exploration. You are exploring, right? Also called exploratory data analysis. I'm exploring the data set. And EDA, exploratory data analysis, is a big thing in interviews, in companies. It is a very, very important skill. So describe, df.describe, right? So this describes the count, the mean, standard deviation, min, 25% quartile, 50%, 75%, and max. So this is basically statistics is what this is displaying to you, right? What are the statistics of your data set, right? Very clear. We don't want to go into the numbers, obviously, here. I just want to explain the function. So now df is a data frame. You can use dot and then function name to describe the data set or to understand the data set better, right? One more thing, very quickly. I want to understand, the first column, if you see here, is UPI banks, right? First column is UPI banks. So I want to see how many unique values and what unique values do I have in my data set. So what will I do here? Unique. df UPI banks dot unique. Okay. Essentially this. So this is now displaying all the unique banks that I have. All the unique UPI banks that I have. It is a method. Yes, Vibhor. Yes. So that is there. Then I also want to quickly see, this is exploration. I also want to quickly see something around data cleaning because I explained this step to you in the beginning, right? Data cleaning. I want to explore and I want to clean the data. And this is where I write a function called df.drop. I want to drop a column. What is the name of that column? Name of that column is year. All the data points, every row is 2021 data. Then why do I even need this column, right? I know everything is 2021. This is not useful for me. So year, I'm going to drop this column. Do I want to drop a column or do I want to drop a row? That is what is defined by axis. So axis equal to 1 is a column and axis equal to 0 is a row, right? So axis is 1 is a column, axis equal to 0 is a row. I want to drop a column, which is why I've written axis equal to 1 inside the drop function. So these are parameters of the drop function. Right? There is a function defined in pandas called drop that is already done for you. And this is what makes Python so widely used, right? So usable that all these functions, all these very, very useful functions are already defined in your inside Python. So you can just call them, you can just use them directly without creating the function again. So that is the beauty of Python. So I want to drop, if you see, now that function, that column year has been dropped. It has been removed from the data set. So data cleaning, I'm cleaning the data, right? Perfect. Now we've covered a bunch of steps. We've analyzed data, we've cleaned data, data exploration. I want to now move to data visualization. And that's the most interesting aspect, as I've already told you, at least for me. Not sure about uh, other people here, but what I want to do here is I want to move to the data visualization aspect here. Now, what do we do for data visualization? We first try to understand, let me first explore also, because to create a data visualization, you need to understand how is each column looking like. For example, there's this column UPI banks, right? I want to write the value counts. I want to understand for every row here, for every bank here, Airtel Payments Bank, what is the total value that I have? For example, I have only one transaction from GoIBibo, but I have 12 rows around Airtel Payments Bank. I think what we need to understand from this is these are the banks that we have. This is the number of rows that we have in that bank. Right? So this is, I want to understand this. Why am I doing this? Why am I trying to understand the value counts? Because I want to plot a chart next. And how do I do that? This is where I'm going to use something known as PLT dot figure, right? PLT dot figure. What is PLT? Do you remember? We defined this PLT here. It is coming from matplotlib.pyplot, right? This is PLT. Basically, I'm using a library called matplotlib, and I'm using that library to define or to create a chart. Now, if you see, I am defining the size of this chart. So fig size equal to, okay, 10, 5 maybe. Right. So I'm defining the size of the figure, and I'm essentially, I want to create a chart using this, right? And also here, I want to do one more thing. That is, okay, this is already written, but I want to write UPI banks dot value counts. Same thing that we did above, right? I want to plot a chart for this. This is not required. So what am I doing here? I'm basically, instead of this, I'll use it in this fashion. So I'm basically, for all these values, right? I want to plot a chart for this thing. Exact same thing. I want to plot a chart like this. So one bar for first one, second bar for second one, and third one for so on and so forth. For example, Airtel Payments Bank will be the first one. Then we will have MobiKwik. That kind of a chart I want to plot. So what do I need to do for that? I have first created a figure. This is an empty figure at this point. But then what I did was I used this column, UPI banks, and I used the value counts for each bank, and I plotted a bar chart. Right? That's the only thing I need to do here. Now let's see. Let's see, why is this coming like this? Let me plot it using the other manner. Let's put it this way. Perfect. Now for Airtel Payments Bank, I have 12 rows, right? I have 12 different rows, and that's basically coming from my data set itself. Those are across months, right? 12 basically is for every month you have one row. So across months, these are the values that I have. These are the columns that I have. For example, uh, this GoIBibo app was used only in 1 month out of the 12 months. Right, so this is there, but this is not very useful for me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plot another chart, going to use the same plt.figure to create a figure. And now what I'm going to use is I'm going to use a bar plot from Seaborn. So Seaborn is another library used for visualization of data. So what I'm going to do is, so let's see, X is, so I'm going to define X and Y. For that, I'm going to use data equal to df, X equal to UPI banks. And what is Y? Y equal to month. So across months, I want to see which banks performed how well. Right here on the y-axis, if you remember, here also we have month only. So this is there. Across months, I have what's the total number of transactions, or let's say what's the total, how does the bar chart look like in terms of value counts. Now what I want to do here is, first of all, I want to correct this. Here the axis is not coming properly. So I want to quickly use something known as tick params. So I will copy here only, maybe plt dot tick params. Some of these functions, I think all of these functions are new to you, but don't need to worry about that. The intent of this is not to overburden you with the functions, new types of functions, but to just show you what data can do here and how can we learn from that. So I basically rotated the x-axis here, right? And now if you see, Airtel Payments Bank was used in 6 months out of the 12 months. And then this particular bank was used in all 12 months and so on and so forth. So it is telling me what is the total number of months for which this was used, right? All right. Coming to the next one, and this is where we make more sense out of it. This is where we summarize the data. So I'm going to do a performance check. I'm going to analyze the performance of banks, right? Performance of banks. And this is where I think this is also one important aspect that we wanted to cover from the problem statement. I want to analyze the performance. How will I do this? I will create a column group by bank, right? For every bank, I want to see the performance. So what will I do here? I will use this tf.group by UPI banks. What am I doing? For every bank, I'm finding out something, right? I'm grouping by the banks. So UPI banks is a column. And then there is something known as index false. I will just do this. Don't want to use this as an index. And what I'm doing is I'm summing this up, right? I want to sum this up. Let me write it in this manner. So what do we have here? I'm grouping by this column, UPI banks, right? Index false. And I want to use this column. What's the name of the column? I will just paste this. I will just paste the list of columns here. So volume million by customers, value CR by customers, value CR, and volume millions. Now what do I want to do? I want to get things in this format. For every bank, what is the total volume? What is the volume per customer? Volume by customers, right? We have this column, right? Volume by customers. Then what is the value? And what is the value by customers? These are the 4 columns I want for every bank. How will I do that? Do this? I will group by these columns, right? It's not okay. I will group by these columns, and at the end I will write aggregate sum. What does this do? This basically sums this up. For every bank, this sums these values up. And let me show what this does. So I will just now, this function is now created. This variable is now created. I am going to show you how this variable looks like. So see this. For every bank, what is the total volume by customers and what is the total value by customers? For every bank will have one row only here. Right? Across the 12 months, what is the total volume and what is the total value by customers? Right now, very quickly, what I want to do here is I want to just let me create a pie chart out of this. Right? I just want to create a pie chart which bank is performing how well, right? That kind of a thing. So I will now create a new function called bank sort, maybe. What this will do is this will group by bank and this will sort your values. Right? How do you want to sort this? You want to sort this by, how do we want to sort this? Maybe let's sort this by volume, right? Volume millions. Why don't we sort this by volume million? So what have I done here? I am basically sorting this by volume, that okay, the highest volumes should come on top, and I will just define the ascending order here. So lowest will come on top, then increasing, so on. And if I write false, then it will be descending basically, and that is what I want. The highest value on top. So which bank had the highest volume on transactions? That will be the first row. And I only want to see the 5 rows, the top 5 rows. Right? So let me do this here. So I only want to see top 5 rows. Whenever we use semicolon 5, it simply returns the top 5 rows. Right now, this variable is created. Let's see how this looks like. So see this, it is just displaying the top 5 rows, and that is why we chose PhonePe as the title of the case study. PhonePe has the highest volume of transactions. And this table is now sorted by volume in millions, right? So this has highest, second highest, third highest, fourth highest, fifth highest. Now, the last thing I want to do here is I want to create a very simple pie chart out of this, right? So I will write data equal to bank sort, right? And I want to say volume million. How did you choose the plot figure 10, 5? So plot figure 10, 5, very simple. I can create 18, so this is basically some random number, right? Basis what's the size you want. For example, here, if I want, let's say, this is a larger chart, right? 18, 6 will give me a larger chart. So it depends on what's the size I want of my chart. Right. Coming back now, I want to create a basic chart, pie chart of these 5 top banks, or let's say top 5 apps. And what will I do here? I will write a label, labels equal to, or let's say instead of this label equal to bank sort UPI banks. So label of the each pie in my chart is going to be UPI banks. And then I can always write other things to make my chart more fancy, right? SNS dot, and this is, I'm using Seaborn here. So there's something known as color palette. Let me delete this. So color palette, pastel. I'm going to use a color palette called pastel. And we don't need this. Then we have plt dot pie. Right, let me show this to you. Data. What am I doing here? I'm getting this data, the bank sort column, right? I have the bank sort variable that I had created. I'm plotting a chart using that variable. So data, then labels equal to the label that I have, colors equal to the color that I have created above. And there is something known as auto PCT. This is just to beautify your chart. So I'll just keep this also. This one we can remove. I don't want to make this more complex. And then plt dot show. So what am I doing here? Whatever table I have here, I've created a pie chart out of this. Now, just to make this more beautiful, there is something known as auto PCT that I'll do now. Right, this. So this basically 0.0f means that I don't have a decimal point in the labels that I have added here. Right? If I write 0.1f, then it will display in 46.1%, 2.3%, so on. So what have I done? I've utilized the Seaborn library to get this color palette pastel, and I've used PyPlot. I've used PLT, which is Matplotlib. Matplotlib is a data visualization library to create a pie plot. So I've created a pie chart basically using this table, using the bank sort variable that I have. That variable is essentially a data frame, as you can see here, right? And we know that PhonePe wins the race. PhonePe followed by Google Pay, followed by Paytm, and then Amazon Pay and Axis are tied with each other, almost tied with each other. And then maybe the other apps. I can always say, I want to see this for the top 10, let's say, banks. And if I write top 10 here, it will basically increase the pies here, the number of chunks that are displayed. Right? I also wanted to group by month, but we are already over time. So I think broadly what we did here, just to quickly recap, right, is that we had a bunch of things. We had some libraries that we imported. We got the sheet that we wanted to analyze. We did some exploratory data analysis, right, and understood how does my data set look like. Then I dropped some unnecessary column year. I didn't need that. And then I tried to use value counts to understand for each bank, what is the total number of values I have, or what is the total number of rows in my data set, right? Across months, which means that for every month I would have one row, right? So how many months did transactions happen using that bank? And finally, we have PLT figure. This is another chart I created using Seaborn. And then I tried to understand which bank performed how well in terms of number of transactions, right? Volume, which bank had the highest volume, and PhonePe was the winner. Now, all this data, all these insights around banks is used by all these apps, right? So actually, all these insights around UPI transactions done via apps, this is used by banks for analyzing, for marketing, for understanding data, for understanding customers better. Right? And that is the essence of data analytics here. All right. Now, that's the first thing. So this is something I wanted to talk about today. This is the Python data analysis we wanted to do. Now, I want to very quickly tell you something that I've learned over the last few years in my data analytics journey. And there's one quote by Steve Jobs: "You can only connect the dots looking backward." I couldn't have thought about, let's say, getting into data analytics faster at that point when I was just starting out and I was wanting to get into data analytics. I couldn't have thought of these things at that point. But now when I look back, I realized some of the mistakes I had done, right? Which elongated, or let's say, which made sure that it takes me longer to get into data analytics. And I want you to not make those same mistakes, which is why what I intend to do here is just to help you learn from my mistakes, right? Help you learn from whatever mistakes I did. For example, one of the mistakes I did was when I was in college. We didn't have a lot of structured courses. I came from a mechanical engineering background. We didn't have a lot of structured data analytics courses or data science courses. I used to roam around here and there on the internet, YouTube, everywhere. We had a lot of data on the internet for sure. We had a lot of courses back then also, right? Udemy, Coursera definitely did exist. I'm not talking about long back, but yes. But all those courses do not give you structure, right? All those courses tell you what to do, all the topics and all. But then, are those topics really tested in real life? Are those topics really asked in today's Flipkart, Amazon interviews, or whichever is your dream company, right? So those things, and then those courses did not have expert guidance. They did not have mentorship. They did not have mock interviews. They did not have that roadmap that you do this, just forget about everything else, just follow the roadmap, just follow the structure. That is something that is required. And I'm telling you this because obviously you would go in for some course, some boot camp, something, right? Just keep these things in mind and just ensure you find these things in whatever boot camp, whatever course, whatever mentorship you are taking. Right now, very quickly, I think something I wanted to share with you. We have shared a form in the chat. We are sharing a form in the chat. If you want to get more information around, let's say, if you want to connect directly with me or with any other expert for expert guidance, for mentorship, because a lot of the instructors that we work with, a lot of the experts that we work with, all of them are actually very skilled data scientists and data experts, right? So we want you to connect with them and understand how your roadmap can be made better, right? That is one. And second is, you can always connect with us for the course. So we have a very, very detailed, I think I am an instructor in the course, and we have a very, very relevant data analytics bootcamp course that we want you to know about. So if you're planning a career transition, it is important for you to upskill, right? And have a very, very solid roadmap. And it is important for you to save time and get the right mentorship also, right? So your learning journey should be made as short as possible because you want to get those interviews and crack the role fast, right? You don't want to wait for 2 years, 3 years. So I highly recommend investing in a paid program, and not any random paid program. I've told you a bunch of things you should look for in a paid program. You can always go for free programs also if there's this, all these things are there in the program, right? But ensure that the program is such that it helps you build your profile from scratch. Now, you fill this form, and I think we've already posted it in the chat. Yes, we've posted it here. And this will help you connect with me. Experts like myself are available to guide you there, and bunch of other problems that you're facing in data analytics. If you want to know anything about the course, also fill this form, right? And if you want to really, you're convinced and you want to go ahead for the course, definitely fill the form. Now, what I would recommend, if I would have been in your place, I would definitely have filled the form and would have wanted to understand more about the course, one, and second, to understand how can I shorten my data science or data analytics learning journey. How can I quickly transition? right?
Thank you everyone for watching. If you found this helpful, check out the link in the description for more such masterclasses.